Peppa Pig's house looks tiny. One little house on a hill, red roof, 4 windows. But if you actually count the rooms the family walks in and out of across 20 years of episodes, the math doesn't work. There are more rooms inside that house than could ever fit outside it. And a few of them you've walked past 100 times without ever really looking. So here's the deal. Every room in that house, 13 of them, including the attic nobody remembers, the garage buried in a hill with no door, the whole second house next door, and the one room that appears in exactly one episode and is never shown again. There's also a detail hidden in one of these rooms about how big this family really is, and it's bigger than you'd ever guess. Stick around, because the very last room on this list breaks the entire building. I'll show you exactly how. Let's start with the strangest one first. Room 1, the room that rearranges itself. Watch the doorways. In one episode, the kitchen opens straight onto the living room, wall to wall, no gap. In the next, there's suddenly a hallway sitting between them. Coat rack, telephone, a whole extra stretch of floor that wasn't there a season ago. The house quietly rearranges its own layout depending on what the story needs, like it redecorates while you blink. Interior designers call that open concept. Structural engineers call it impossible. And here's the punchline the show wrote itself. Fans peg Daddy Pig as a structural engineer. A man who supposedly designs load-bearing walls for a living in a building that treats geometry like a polite suggestion. Load-bearing? In this house, nothing bears anything. The walls are basically freelance. That's the shifting room, and it's strange. But that's nothing compared to what's sitting directly above it. Room 2, the attic? Nobody remembers. There's a real episode, genuinely called The Attic, where Daddy Pig climbs through a hatch in the ceiling into this cavernous loft, and the family goes hunting for something they've lost. And the second you see it, your brain should stall out, because this attic is enormous. Full standing height, real floor space, storage a self-storage company would envy. This is not the crawl space of a 4-window house. This is the attic of a manor. Old toys up there, baby clothes, a rocking horse, even Daddy Pig's childhood teddy. And then, that's it. They show you a massive hidden upper floor once and never fold it into normal daily life again. One appearance, gone. Which begs the obvious question. If there's a secret floor up top nobody talks about, what's underneath? Because I found something underneath, and it's worse. Room 3. What's really under the house? There are episodes where the family goes down to a boiler when the heating breaks and Daddy Pig has to fix it, which mostly means hitting it, down to a workshop, and down to a garage, because Daddy Pig owns a car. A real one. It has a horn. It goes on trips. It picks people up. So where does a car live in a house perched on a steep, perfectly round hill with a single winding path curling up to the front door? Go look. There's no driveway. There's no ramp. There's no garage door on that neat little box, and there's certainly no road wide enough to get a car up a footpath that's basically a spiral staircase for grass. And yet the car exists, parked and waiting, every single time they need it. Which means somewhere inside that hill is a room big enough to hold a vehicle, turning space, ceiling clearance, the whole thing, with an entrance the exterior has never once shown you. Think about that. The car doesn't roll up to the house, the car comes out of the ground. The hill isn't decoration, it's hollow. There is an entire underground bunker under the Pig family, and Daddy Pig apparently tunneled it himself and never mentioned it. Hold on to that hill, because it comes back at the end and it comes back leaking. First though, the rooms you think you already know, starting with one that literally moves. Room 4, the kitchen that won't sit still. You know the kitchen, table, stove, a window looking out on the garden. Fine. Except go back and watch it across seasons, and the stove drifts to a different wall, the window changes size, the counters lengthen. That's what animators call drift. On any show that runs long enough, the artists redraw the same set thousands of times from memory, and it slowly warps. Most cartoons hide it behind clever angles. Peppa's kitchen does it right out in the open, in full daylight, in the one room the family uses more than any other. It's never quite the same room twice. Now, if the room they use most can't stay still, imagine the room they'd rather you didn't look at too closely, the one with a permanent resident nobody invited in. Room 5, the bathroom with the spider. The bathroom has a recurring guest, a little spider named Mr. Skinny Legs, who Peppa's whole family treats as a welcome friend rather than a pest. Sweet, right? Here's the trivia. That episode was reportedly yanked off air in Australia. where broadcasters got complaints that telling small children spiders are cuddly friends is a genuinely dangerous message in a country with funnel webs and redbacks. And the wild part is it happened more than once. The episode got flagged, pulled, and became a whole news story down under. So there's a room in this house with an episode so specific it got banned on an entire continent. And because that room clearly can't be trusted, count the rooms next to it, because upstairs, the numbers stop adding up in a way you can't ignore. Room 6, Peppa's room versus George's room. Peppa's room is wall-to-wall with her teddy, named Teddy, because Peppa names things by describing them and then stopping immediately. George's room is drowning in dinosaurs, because George runs on exactly 2 settings, Mr. Dinosaur and crying. And here's the thing that should bother you. These 2 rooms belong to 2 kids in the same tiny house. So where are they? Which floor? Because when the family's all in bed and you try to stack these rooms on top of the kitchen and the living room and the office and the bathroom, they don't line up. They can't. There isn't enough building for them to be in. 2 children's bedrooms, fully furnished, fully lived in, and structurally floating somewhere the outside of the house has no space for. For now, let's step next door. Room 7, the whole second house. Here's a room the show sneaks past you. When Peppa visits Granny and Grandpa Pig, they don't have a spare bedroom in the family home, they have an entire other house. Full kitchen, full garden, a boat, a vegetable patch, a whole treehouse of their own. And Granddad Dog, Miss Rabbit, every other family, same deal. Each one comes with a complete home the exterior never has to justify because it's conveniently somewhere else, over a hill, off-screen. It's the easiest trick in the show. Need more rooms? Put them in someone else's house. But the pig family's own little box doesn't get that excuse. Everything it holds, it has to hold inside those 4 walls. Which brings us right back to that little red box and its famous unsolvable window problem. Room 8, the living room and the window count. The living room, where the family watches telly and Daddy Pig falls asleep in the armchair once per episode, like clockwork. Normal enough, until you count. 4 windows on the outside. Now count the rooms inside that actually need one. Kitchen, living room, bathroom, Peppa's room, George's room, Mummy and Daddy's room, the office. That's at least 7 rooms fighting over 4 windows. Either half this family sleeps in total pitch darkness, or there are windows that only exist when a scene needs sunlight and quietly disappear when it doesn't. And keep those 4 windows in mind because their size is about to matter a lot. Nobody in the house needs a window more than the man in the next room, because you can barely prove that room is there at all. Room 9, Daddy Pig's office. Daddy Pig does his big important jobs here.
Daddy Pig's job sounds very important.
A phrase the show repeats so often, it starts to sound less like a career and more like a cover story. Desk, computer, stacks of paper, and a job so vaguely defined that fans have genuinely argued about it for years. Structural engineer? Then why is he always at a desk? But the real mystery isn't what he does, it's where he does it. You never see this office's window from outside. You never learn which floor it's on. It appears the instant Daddy Pig needs to look busy and vanishes the second he's done, which is honestly the most accurate depiction of working from home ever committed to animation. And once you're finished counting the rooms inside, the house pulls its boldest move yet. It just starts growing more rooms outside. Room 10, the buildings in the garden. There's an episode where the family builds a treehouse. Peppa gets a proper one up the big tree. Rope ladder, platform, the works. George, too small to climb, gets his own version down on the ground, shaped like a boat. So the garden now holds the impossible main house, a working treehouse, and a boat that's also a house but is neither a boat nor in a tree. 3 separate dwellings on 1 plot of grass. This family is 1 shed short of a fully zoned housing estate. And that's before we get to the single most important room in the entire show. One that technically has no roof, no walls, and no floor. Room 11, the muddy puddle. If you've seen 30 seconds of this show, you know the ritual. Peppa loves jumping in muddy puddles. Everyone pulls on their boots, they all jump, they all fall over laughing, roll credits. The puddle has more screen time than most of the actual rooms. And nobody ever asks why the garden of a house on top of a steep hill drains so badly that there's always, reliably, a fresh puddle waiting right outside the door. That's not weather. Hills drain. Puddles run downhill. This one doesn't. Something under that hill is feeding it, and I'd bet my boots it connects straight to the mystery garage we found buried underground earlier. The hollow hill is leaking. But even a leaking bunker doesn't compare to the room they showed exactly once, walked away from, and buried forever. Room 12. The room that appears once and is never shown again. There's a room the show opens exactly one time. The family walks through it, uses it for a single storyline, and then quietly wipes it off the map. A spare room near the top of the stairs, fully furnished, bed made, curtains hung, clearly a real established part of the house. Not a dream, not a flashback, not an animation goof you can wave away. A confirmed room with a door that the show acknowledges exists. And then never opens again. Not once. It doesn't get referenced. Nobody sleeps in it. When guests stay over, the family somehow forgets they own an entire empty bedroom and improvises sleeping arrangements instead. Like the room quietly ceased to exist the moment its episode ended. That's the eerie part. It's not that the room is impossible, it's that the show knew it was there, showed it to you on purpose, and then chose to pretend it never happened. And that's exactly the problem. Because when you finally stack every single real room together, the attic, the buried garage, the floating bedrooms, the office, the vanished spare room, you slam straight into the wall this whole video's been walking toward. Room 13, the room that breaks the house. Here it is. A few years back, an official-looking height listing for the characters went viral, the kind of thing that ends up on the Google info panel, and it pegged Peppa herself at around 3'9". 3'9" for a piglet who can't reach a door handle. That already sounds off. But scale the rest of the family up from that same ratio, and it gets absurd fast because Daddy Pig comes out at roughly 14 feet tall. 14 feet. Taller than a giraffe. Taller than a double-decker bus stood on its bumper. This is the man who dozes in an armchair, and by these numbers, his head would punch straight through the ceiling of any normal room. Now look at the house again with those proportions in mind. If Peppa's the size of an NBA center and Daddy Pig is a two-story giant, then that little box on the hill was never little. It's the size of an office block. Those 4 windows I told you to remember? Each one is the size of a cinema screen. The winding path is a mountain road. The muddy puddle is a lake. The house doesn't shrink to fit the family. The family reveals the house was gigantic the entire time, and we just never had anything to measure it against. And that's the true secret room. Not a room with walls. The invisible extra volume that has to exist between what the house looks like from the hill and everything we've watched it actually hold. The warehouse attic. The buried garage. The floating bedrooms. The vanished spare room. 7 rooms and 4 windows. All of it fits because the house was never the size it pretends to be. The secret room isn't one room. It's every room at once. The house is bigger on the inside than the house. One last thing. So there it is. An attic the size of a warehouse. A car parked inside a hollow hill with no door. A leaking puddle that never dries. A spare bedroom the show chose to forget. And a dad 14 feet tall holding the laws of physics hostage from an armchair. Next time you watch, count the windows, then count the rooms. It doesn't add up, and now you can't unsee it. So tell me in the comments, which room do you think is really hiding in that hill? Drop your best theory, and if you want to see how this exact house has quietly changed shape across 20 years of episodes, the evolution video's right there on screen. Go watch that one next. I've got my boots on. I'm ready to jump.